Annkio, can you quickly unmute yourself now that we have you?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear and see
sorry,
you. So...
then it means...
Okay.
Well, I'm a Nigerian, so wait till it's in proper order.
Okay. So now that we have you here, finally, we are glad to have you. And,
Thank you.
You know, I think you now have the floor to address us for a couple of minutes.
Couple of minutes? Okay. I was, good afternoon, everyone. I was contacted to speak, and I've been trying to find out how many minutes one has, because
I'll make it 3 minutes for you.
I was given a topic. And the topic is the role of women in the war. That was the topic that was sent to me. So I think 3 minutes will not do it, in as much as it took me almost an hour just to be allowed into the forum. All right, let's go. May the souls of all the Igbo people that died during the 1967-68 pogrom and genocide that kicked off the war, and all other ethnic nationalities that died along, that were considered a part of people that they had to kill. So you didn't have to be an Igbo person. No. They didn't ask you if you were Igbo or not. They just, you were killed. Now, the role, I can't hear you. Hello, can you hear me?
We can hear you. Yes, we can hear you loud and clear. Go ahead.
Okay, good. The role of women in any crisis for centuries, or national crisis of war, remain the same. It's no different. And the role that the Igbo women played, the women of Eastern region played. Mazi, you seem to be talking. Are you hearing me at all?
We can hear you. We can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay. The role that women played, luckily for me, I was at an age where I could remember. I was a teenager when the war started. I was a teenager when Adakaboro declared war. I was a teenager when Odumegwu Ojukwu declared war. I was a teenager when the crisis and the pogrom, as I said, started in the north. I was already in my first and second year of secondary schools in secondary school in Port Harcourt. Now, a woman's role in this situation is always to be safe, to keep her family, her children, if she has any, her siblings, everybody safe, and to make sure that everybody ends up alive. But we also know that women are the first victims of this type of crisis, and we now experience them as we are today in Nigeria. So the role of women definitely have not changed. It has become worse, because now rape of women, disregard of women have become part of the tools of war, if you like, when a war is declared anywhere in the world, as we hear from international news all over the world. Now, coming back home to Nigeria, where we have 6 geopolitical zones, where the former Eastern region is now split into 2 distinct geopolitical zones, Southeast and the South-South. Taking what we're going through now and what the different positions that have been taken by our people, Prof, whether they be Ndibo or whether...
Prof, can you please join back? I think I have resolved...
Hello?
Sorry, sister, go ahead.
Oh, okay. Because I can hear you talking to somebody else. So, okay. So, looking back on the lives and the sacrifices that the Biafra War have created. We all know what Ndibo went through. We all know what we went through. I want to very quickly, having this opportunity, project one thing. It is unacceptable to somebody like me for the belief to continue that Adakaboro fought the war against Igbo people, fought the war for federal government. Very, in my opinion, that's a very wrong narrative. If we remember, Adakaboro was already a man that has been incarcerated, caught, incarcerated, and had been sentenced to death before Ojukwu Ojukwu declared, and then the federal government declared war on the independent declaration of Nigeria or of Biafra. Now, I believe that what Adakaboro did is what any man will do when faced with the type of situations he was faced with. He was already on death row, if you like, and he was given an option. It's like in the army, go to army in America, go to army or go to jail, and go to war on the Nigerian side or be killed. So it is a wrong impression and narrative. And as a people, both Niger Delta people, the ethnic nationalities, the Ijaw people, the Igbo people, I think we should let this be put to rest, that Ijaw people did not fight against Igbo people for the sake that they fought against Igbo people. Whether we liked it or not, some of the then old Eastern region was caught up in the Nigerian side, and some was caught up in the Biafran side. Now, I was definitely caught up in the Biafran side. Throughout the year, I spent it in Imo State, in Mbaise, in the family house of today, Mrs. Mary Peter Odele, Justice Mary Peter Odele. And so many of us have our stories to tell about the Civil War, and our stories are not different from anybody else's. It's just that our truth from where we come from is different from the truth of somebody in Lagos. When people in Lagos talk about the war, I mean, what are they talking about? If you were in Lagos, you didn't know what was a war that was going on in the eastern part of Nigeria before Rivers State was created. And if you bear in mind, Rivers State was created, it was one of the things that Adakaboro was asking for. Now, what do we do as a people that are from the old Eastern region, but today are in two separate geopolitical zones that we can do nothing about? We have to move forward. So if we're moving forward based on where we are today, I think it is important to us, whether we are women, whether we're men, we're businessmen, we're retired men, what we must do is learn from our experiences and teach the future of our experiences so that they can do better and achieve more than we have been able to achieve for ourselves. We have to be able to hand over something to them. What we're going to hand over to them is not what's happening in our section of Nigeria today. The speaker before me made reference to being in support of resource control. Resource control is something that definitely, if we're able to have had resource control, it would have taken us far further away from the crisis that we are in today. Today, we're hearing somebody has been shot dead in Owerri last night. This is a politician from a very far away place, and you begin to wonder, what is actually going on, what, this crisis, these killings that all of a sudden is going on in the middle of the night when our people should be asleep and safe. What is going on? Who is behind these things? How is these things taking place? And who, at the end of the day, is going to be held responsible, or whom are they going to decide to hold responsible? So we have a lot to look at as a people today. And the first thing we should look at is, how do we work together? Biafra is an experience that the Igbo world, the World Igbo Congress, and Igbos anywhere should not forget, and should not forget to tell their children about it. I tell my own children about the war because I experienced it. So we need to be able to make sure that our children don't find themselves in a war. But in making sure that our children don't find themselves in a war, we're not going to turn our children into cowards. We're going to make sure that our children are able to get a better state, a better region than we have had in the past, 20 years since this Obasanjo's government came into being. Things have gotten worse from 1999 to this day. So what then is the future going to be like? Are we going to continuously have our people achieving greatness in the world of science, in the world of development, in the world of the economy, outside of our region? Let me not even say outside of Nigeria, outside of our region, so that all this capacity our people have is being invested in other countries, and rightly so, because they will be destroyed and killed here. There is no project. There is nothing in Nigeria as we have it today that will give an Igbo man that is a great scientist somewhere, or an Ijaw man that is a great doctor somewhere, to be able to exercise those capacities. So they might as well stay where they are. But then, who is the loser? It's us that is the loser. It's wonderful to have World Igbo Congress, Ijaw World Congress, Yoruba World Congress outside of Yoruba land, outside of Igbo land, outside of Ijaw land. Where is the benefit? It's not our people that are benefiting. So we should begin as adults, as young people, as women, as politicians. We should begin to look inwards and begin to make the changes where we have made mistakes, and begin to know that without each other, we cannot really make it. But without each other does not mean I will impose my will on somebody else, or somebody else will impose his will on me. It is very critical for us today, especially, I believe, in southern Nigeria, that we have these politicians waking up from their sleep, their political sleep, waking up to the realization that it's not about political party, but about their people, about where they come from, about their states, that they're beginning to realize this, and they're willing to confront this, and that they cannot achieve anything if we, the people, are also not part of this process of making these political changes with the politicians. The politicians have been so bastardized, if you like, into fear in Nigeria as we have it today, that you have an Annkio talking, Dele Mahmood talking, Fani Kayode talking. We're all saying more or less the same thing, but we are not able to collectively use what we are saying to achieve what we should. My take right now, I mean, I've analyzed a lot of things that is happening in Nigeria today, and quite honestly, with all humility, with all humility, what's happening in Nigeria, I have foreseen what's happening in Nigeria today, I saw it a very long time ago, that we can have a situation where what was happening in the Northeast is now seemingly brought to the South. But it's not, for me, I'm not surprised, because I've been shouting that the process that this will happen was taking place already 5, 6, 7 years before this time, and that it is actually happening. It's not a surprise. Now, who are the people that are going to be killed? Who are the people that they're going to arrest and throw into dungeons and hold them responsible for what is happening today? That is my worry. It's not the children of politicians they're going to hold. It's the children of a bicycle repairer. It's the children of a man in our area. It's the children of a man that is not in the United Kingdom that are going to be held responsible for what is happening, that is very clearly a conspiracy. There is a conspiracy going on in Nigeria right now. It didn't start today, in my opinion. This conspiracy is well planned, well orchestrated, and we are just now reacting. Our people are reacting to this conspiracy now. But the conspiracy has been strategically put in place for a very long time. And our youth, I see a youth on my screen here that is shirtless, he's not wearing any shirt. Well, I mean, the tomorrow that we're talking about is for these people, is for these sons of other men and women like you and I that are talking today, or that are listening today. So I want to leave us with this thought, that right now it is very important that we see ourselves as people that are good, that the plan is to destroy us, whether you are an Igbo man, whether you are an Ijaw man, whether you are an Ishekiri man. Don't think for 1 second that what they will do to the Igbo man, they won't do it to you, or that what they will do to the Ishekiri man, that they won't do it to the Igbo man. No. Just as it was done during the war, everybody that is from the old Eastern region is the same person. They didn't ask. Just like that is exactly how they are going to handle our people when they decide to handle the people. So in commemorating our people that have given up so much by dying for the Biafran War, I want to suggest that we learn from the Biafran War. You know, I just saw a question that was flashed, and this has to stop. This is coming from irresponsibility, and it is coming from lack of knowledge. When young children that don't know what we're talking about will now pose a question: what has the Ijaws done for our predicament? What is your predicament? What have you done for the Ijaw people's predicament? What is your predicament that you're talking about? I'm talking and you're asking me, because I'm an Ijaw person, that what have the Ijaw people done for your predicament? And this is where the enemy is able to do what they want with us. And that's exactly what's happening right now. What's happening right now is orchestrated, is being done and carried out in the background, being pushed and driven by people who are strangers to us. But we seem to believe and accept that it is our people that are doing it. Who are these our people that are doing it? That is what we should be asking ourselves. Our youth should be very, very careful, because it's their life that they are cutting short, not somebody else's life. They should not allow themselves to be used. They should work with the elders. They should work with the intelligentsia. They should work with the business people. They should work with the academia. They should work with women. The youths alone, let me tell you, youths, you alone cannot win whatever war you think that is being fought. You cannot win it, the capacity to win it is not there. Guerrilla warfare has never created a nation, and it has never won a war. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for making that excellent submission. You know, your subject or your topic was on the role of women, and you did justice to that, the role of women during the genocidal war, which brought you back to today's realities, that you are basically telling the younger ones that danger lies ahead. And there are a couple of things that they need to do. I believe that it's been taken in very well. Now, let us continue. I would use the opportunity. We now have the privilege of having Professor Chidi Osuagwu.